Step out of the vehicle. Now. Officer Ethan Cole pulled open the driver's door before Monica Hayes could ask why. Cold morning air rushed into the black SUV, carrying the smell of gasoline and wet pavement from the station only 3 blocks from police headquarters. Monica kept both hands visible on the steering wheel. Her license was valid. Her registration matched the vehicle. She had broken no law. Yet Ethan stood over her as though the decision had already been made. In the pocket of her navy coat, a small velvet box pressed against her side. Inside it rested the new chief's badge she was supposed to receive publicly in less than 30 minutes. The officers surrounding her had no idea who she was. More importantly, Monica was beginning to see exactly who they were. Subscribe for more stories about courage, justice, and the strength to stand calmly when power expects fear. Officer, what is the legal reason for this stop? Monica asked. Her voice was steady, almost quiet. Ethan glanced toward his partner, Officer Caleb Morris, then back at her. We are asking the questions. You already asked for my documents. They are in your hand. Ethan looked down at the license and registration he had taken through the window. Both were current. The insurance card was valid. Nothing on the screen inside the patrol car suggested the SUV was stolen. Caleb knew that because he had checked twice. Everything matches, Caleb said carefully. Ethan ignored him. The gas station was beginning to fill with morning customers. A delivery driver paused beside the convenience store entrance. A black mother fastening her child into a minivan looked over when she heard Ethan raise his voice. Monica noticed every face, every camera, every officer's hand position. She had spent 24 years in law enforcement learning how quickly a routine encounter could become something else when pride entered before evidence. Why did you stop me? She asked again. Ethan's eyes moved across the polished SUV, her tailored coat, and her face. We have had reports of suspicious vehicles in this area. What description was provided? He hesitated. A dark sport utility vehicle. Monica glanced toward the street. 3 dark sport utility vehicles passed the entrance within seconds. Did the report include a license plate? Ethan's expression tightened. Get out. Caleb stepped closer to his partner. Her information is clean. We could document the contact and clear it. Ethan turned toward him. Do not tell me how to run my stop. Monica heard the phrase clearly. My stop. Not an investigation. Not public safety. Possession. She looked at the small red light on Caleb's body camera. It was recording. Ethan's camera showed no light at all. Is your body camera active? She asked him. Ethan's jaw hardened. That is none of your concern. It became my concern when you opened my door without explaining why. A few feet away, the mother raised her phone and began recording from beside her minivan. Ethan noticed. His hand closed around Monica's coat sleeve. He did not strike her or throw her down, but he used enough force to pull her from the seat before she could step out on her own. Her shoes touched the damp concrete. The velvet badge box shifted inside her pocket but remained hidden. Hands on the vehicle, Ethan ordered. Monica faced the SUV, feeling the cold metal beneath her palms. She could have ended the encounter with one movement. She could have shown the badge, spoken her title, and watched every voice change. Instead, she looked at Caleb's camera and asked, "Are you going to record what happened before this moment?" Caleb glanced at Ethan. Fear crossed his face, subtle but unmistakable. Monica understood then that this was not merely one officer making a bad decision. It was a test of whether the younger man would protect the truth or protect the uniform beside him. Ethan leaned closer. You need to learn how to cooperate. Monica looked at his reflection in the SUV window. No, she said calmly. I need to learn how your department treats people when it believes they have no power. : writing, variant equals, document, ID equals, 64192. Monica kept her palms against the cold metal of the SUV while Ethan stood behind her, close enough that she could hear the impatient rhythm of his breathing. The velvet badge box pressed against her ribs beneath the navy coat, but she left it hidden. She had not come to Fairmont with a motorcade, a uniform, or a photographer. She had refused all 3. At 6 that morning, Deputy Chief Laura Bennett had offered to send a city car to the hotel, but Monica had declined. She wanted to drive the streets herself before standing behind a podium and promising the city that things would change. For 18 months, complaints had gathered in sealed folders, unexplained vehicle stops, missing camera footage, reports rewritten until certainty became confusion. Most of the people filing those complaints were black residents. Most of the cases had ended with the same phrase: insufficient evidence. Monica had been hired because she knew how systems protected themselves. She had also been hired because she knew how to make them tell the truth. "Turn around," Ethan ordered. Monica did so slowly, keeping her hands visible. The gas station canopy threw a white glare across his badge, while red and blue light moved over the windows behind him. Caleb stood several feet away with Monica's documents still in his hand. His body camera continued recording. Ethan's did not. "You said there was a report involving a dark vehicle," Monica said. "What time was the report made?" Ethan's eyes narrowed. "You are not conducting this stop." "Then conduct it properly." The mother beside the minivan kept her phone raised. Her young son watched through the rear window, his face pressed close to the glass. Monica noticed how the woman positioned herself between the child and the officers without taking a single step forward. It was a posture learned through experience. Ethan pointed toward Monica's SUV. "You were observed sitting here for an extended period." Monica glanced at the dashboard clock through the open door. "I arrived 4 minutes ago." Caleb looked down at the dispatch screen mounted inside the patrol car. "There is no active suspicious vehicle call at this location," he said. Ethan turned sharply. "I told you to stop interfering." Caleb's mouth closed, but his camera remained pointed toward them. Monica studied the younger officer. He was 26, perhaps 27, with the stiff posture of someone still learning which loyalties the department expected from him. She had seen officers like Caleb before. Good instincts buried under fear. A conscience waiting for permission. "Officer Morris," she said, reading the name on his uniform, "does your department policy require body cameras to be activated before citizen contact?" Ethan stepped between them. "Do not question my partner. He is wearing a public badge. I am asking about public policy." The mother recording from the minivan moved a little closer while remaining a safe distance away. Ethan saw her and raised his voice. "Stop filming and leave the area." Monica looked at the woman. "You are allowed to record from there." Ethan's attention snapped back to Monica. "You do not give instructions at my scene." The Constitution already did. The delivery driver near the store entrance lowered the box he was carrying and began watching more carefully. Caleb's gaze moved from Monica to Ethan's dark camera. "Your camera is off," he said quietly. Ethan looked down. For 1 second, uncertainty crossed his face. Then pride covered it. He pressed the activation button and said, "It malfunctioned." Monica heard the lie form in real time. She also heard how easily he expected it to survive. "Then your report should include the exact moment it began recording," she said. Ethan stepped closer. "You have an answer for everything. I have questions you should have answered before opening my door." The velvet box shifted again when the wind pressed her coat against her side. Her father's voice returned to her from years earlier, calm and tired after another long shift in a city that rarely saw him as anything beyond his skin. "Power means nothing if it only protects the people who already have it." Monica had promised him she would remember. Now, beside a gas pump under flashing lights, she understood that her first day as chief had already begun. Not at the ceremony. Not beneath the city seal. Here, where no one recognized her and 2 officers had to decide whether truth mattered more than each, Ethan looked toward the growing circle of witnesses and made the mistake Monica had been waiting for. Instead of slowing down, he raised his voice. "You are being detained for obstructing an investigation." Monica held his gaze. "What investigation?" "The suspicious vehicle call." Caleb glanced again at the dispatch screen. "There is still no call attached to this location." Ethan turned toward him. "Then create a field contact." The words were quiet, but Monica heard them. So did the mother holding the phone. Her camera shifted slightly as she moved closer to the edge of the sidewalk. Monica looked at Caleb. Do not change the record to fit the stop. Ethan stepped between them again. You need to stop telling officers how to do their jobs. Then stop giving me reasons to. A radio crackled from Ethan's shoulder. He requested a supervisor, describing Monica as argumentative and uncooperative. He did not mention that her documents were valid. He did not mention the missing dispatch call. He did not mention that his camera had only started recording after she asked about it. Monica listened carefully as the facts were reshaped one sentence at a time. She had reviewed hundreds of complaints built the same way. The first version belonged to the citizen. The official version belonged to the badge. By the time anyone investigated, only one of them had been preserved. Officer Morris, she said, what time did this contact begin? Caleb checked his watch. 7:42. And what time did Officer Cole activate his camera? Caleb looked toward Ethan. The warning in his partner's face was clear. 7:46, Caleb answered. Ethan's expression hardened. You are done talking. Caleb took one step back, but he did not correct himself. Monica felt the first small shift in the scene. Fear was still present, but it was no longer in complete control. A second patrol vehicle entered the gas station and stopped beside the first. Lieutenant Robert Sloan stepped out, adjusting his jacket as he approached. He was 51, with a calm face and the practiced impatience of a man accustomed to arriving after decisions had already been made. Ethan walked toward him immediately. Possible stolen vehicle. Driver refused instructions and interfered with the stop. Monica watched Sloan. Accept the story before looking at the license, the registration, or the dispatch screen. Is she secured? He asked. She is standing right here, Monica said. Sloan turned toward her. His eyes passed over her face, her coat, and the expensive SUV behind her. Ma'am, remain quiet while I speak with my officers. Monica's jaw tightened, but her voice did not. Before you repeat their conclusion, verify their evidence. Sloan gave her a thin smile. We know how to conduct an investigation. Then investigate. Caleb held out Monica's documents. Everything is valid, Lieutenant. There is no active vehicle report, and Officer Cole's camera was not recording at the beginning. Sloan did not take the papers. We will sort that out later. The mother with the phone spoke from the sidewalk. She has been calm the whole time. Sloan turned toward her. You need to step back and stop interfering. She is already standing back, Monica said. She is recording from a public area. Sloan looked at Monica with open irritation. You seem very familiar with police procedure. I am familiar with rights. Ethan folded his arms. She has been acting like she runs the department since we got here. A few people near the pumps went silent. Monica looked at him. No, she said. I am trying to find out how your department treats people who do not. Sloan's expression changed. Not because he understood the point, but because he heard the challenge beneath it. Place your hands behind your back, he ordered. Monica did not move. Am I under arrest? You are being detained. For what specific offense? Sloan looked toward Ethan. Ethan answered too quickly. Failure to comply. Caleb's eyes lowered. Monica felt the velvet box against her side again, heavier now than before. One movement would end this. One badge would change every voice around her. But that was exactly why she kept it hidden. She wanted to know whether law mattered before rank entered the conversation. Sloan stepped closer. Last chance. Monica looked past him at Caleb. Your report begins now, she said. Decide whether it belongs to the truth or to them. Caleb looked at Monica, then at Ethan, and finally at Lieutenant Sloan. The choice was visible in his face before he spoke. She has not resisted, he said. Ethan turned toward him sharply. What did you say? Caleb's voice shook, but he repeated it. She has not resisted. Her documents are valid, there is no matching dispatch call, and the contact began before Officer Cole activated his body camera. The gas station seemed to hold its breath. Even the traffic beyond the pumps felt distant beneath the steady hum of the canopy lights. Sloan stepped closer to Caleb. You need to be very careful about what you put on the record. Monica heard the warning beneath the words. It was not advice. It was pressure shaped like procedure. Caleb swallowed. I am being careful, sir. Ethan gave a humorless laugh. You are taking her side over your partner. Caleb looked at Monica's hands, still visible and still empty. I am taking the side of what happened. The mother beside the minivan kept recording. Her son watched from behind the glass, his small face serious. Monica wondered how many moments like this had taught him to become quiet around uniforms. She turned toward Sloane. Your officer has answered the question. What is the lawful reason for continuing this detention? Sloane ignored her and reached for his radio. We need another unit for crowd control. There is no crowd, Monica said. There are witnesses. Ethan moved closer to the woman recording. I told you to stop filming. The woman took one cautious step back but did not lower her phone. Monica's voice cut through the cold air. She is standing on public property at a safe distance. Leave her alone. Ethan looked at Monica as if her calm offended him more than anger would have. You keep acting like you own this department. Monica held his gaze. No. I am asking whether this department believes it owns everyone else. Sloane's expression tightened. Enough. Hands behind your back. Monica remained still. Am I being arrested? You are being detained until we determine who you are and why you are here. You have my identification. That does not explain the vehicle. The registration does. That does not explain your attitude. The words slipped out before Sloane could pull them back. Caleb looked at him. Ethan looked away. Monica felt the velvet box press against her side as the wind moved her coat. There it was. Not evidence. Not safety. Not law. Attitude. The invisible offense assigned whenever a person refused to make authority comfortable. Monica slowly brought her hands behind her back, not because Sloane had earned compliance, but because she wanted every camera to capture the absence of threat. I am cooperating, she said. State the reason clearly. Ethan took out a pair of handcuffs but hesitated. The mother's phone remained fixed on him. Caleb's camera recorded from several feet away. Sloane glanced toward the road, suddenly aware of how exposed the scene had become. A black sedan turned into the gas station, followed by a city vehicle with the municipal seal on the door. Both cars stopped near the pumps. Deputy Chief Laura Bennett stepped out first, still wearing the formal uniform prepared for the morning ceremony. The mayor exited behind her, holding a folder and looking confused. Laura scanned the scene, saw Monica beside the SUV, and froze. Chief Hayes, she called. Every officer turned. Ethan's hand stopped above the cuffs. Sloane's face lost color. Monica reached slowly into her coat and removed the velvet box. She opened it beneath the white canopy light. The gold badge inside caught the flashing red and blue reflections and threw them back across the stunned faces around her. Yes, Monica said quietly. I believe your officers were just explaining how this department identifies suspicious people. The badge remained open in Monica's hand while the entire gas station fell silent. Ethan lowered the handcuffs as though they had suddenly become too heavy to hold. Sloane stared at the engraved title, then at Monica's face, searching for some explanation that would make the moment less real. Deputy Chief Laura Bennett crossed the pavement quickly, her formal shoes clicking against the damp concrete. Chief Hayes, are you all right? Monica closed the velvet box but did not put it away. I am unharmed. Her answer was calm, yet it carried enough weight to stop Laura from asking anything else. The mayor looked from Monica to the officers, then toward the phones still recording. Caleb stood rigid beside the patrol car, his body camera fixed on the scene. Ethan's camera, now active, captured only the part where everyone knew who Monica was. Chief, Ethan began, there has been a misunderstanding. Monica looked at him. What changed? He hesitated. I did not know your identity. My identity was on the license you held. I mean your position. That is exactly the problem. The words landed quietly. The mother beside the minivan lowered her phone by an inch but continued recording. Monica glanced toward her, then back at Ethan. You believed I deserved an explanation only after you saw a badge. Ethan's face tightened with shame. I was responding to suspicious circumstances. Caleb spoke before Sloan could stop him. There was no matching call, Chief. Laura turned toward him. Your name? Officer Caleb Morris, ma'am. Was your body camera recording from the beginning? Yes. Monica looked toward Ethan. And yours? Ethan answered slowly. It activated later. After I asked about it, Monica said. Sloan stepped forward, trying to reclaim control. Chief Hayes, we can resolve this at headquarters. There is no reason to continue this discussion in public. Monica looked around at the witnesses. It became public when your officers opened my door in front of them. Sloan lowered his voice. This is not the proper setting for an internal matter. A citizen's rights are not an internal matter. The mayor shifted beside Laura, clearly aware that the ceremony waiting downtown no longer mattered. Monica handed the velvet box to Laura. Please hold this. Laura accepted it carefully. Monica then turned toward Caleb. Officer Morris, describe what happened from the moment the stop began. Do not leave anything out. Caleb looked at Ethan, then Sloan. Both men were watching him. The old pressure returned to his face, but this time he did not retreat. Officer Cole initiated contact without a dispatch-linked complaint. The vehicle information came back valid. He opened the driver's door before stating a specific legal reason. His body camera was not active. During the first 4 minutes, Lieutenant Sloan arrived and continued the detention without reviewing the dispatch record. Ethan exhaled sharply. Caleb. Monica raised one hand. Let him finish. Caleb continued. Chief Hayes remained calm. She did not resist. The witnesses stayed at a safe distance. Sloan's expression hardened. You are making conclusions beyond your experience. Caleb looked at Monica's open hands, then at the mother still standing beside her child. I am stating what I saw. Monica nodded once. It was not praise. It was recognition. She turned toward Laura. Preserve every recording. Both body cameras, both patrol vehicles, dispatch logs, radio traffic, and civilian footage offered voluntarily. No deletions. No edits. No private summaries before the originals are secured. Laura immediately called the Professional Standards Unit. Ethan looked stunned. Chief, are we being investigated? Monica met his eyes. You were already being investigated before this morning. Sloan went still. The meaning reached him first. Monica continued. I was appointed because this department has a pattern of complaints involving selective stops, missing footage, and reports that change after the fact. The wind moved through the station again, lifting the edge of her coat. Today did not create that pattern. It confirmed why the city asked me to come. Ethan looked toward Sloan, but Sloan had no answer left to provide. Monica stepped away from the SUV and faced the officers directly. No one is being judged at this gas station. But no one is leaving before the truth is preserved. The Professional Standards team arrived 12 minutes later in an unmarked city sedan, carrying evidence bags, secure drives, and the quiet authority of people trained to preserve facts before stories could change. Monica stood beside her SUV while Laura supervised the transfer of body camera files and patrol recordings. Ethan watched every device leave his control. Sloan kept his arms folded, but the posture no longer looked commanding. It looked defensive. Caleb remained near the curb, still facing the weight of what he had chosen. The mother with the phone introduced herself as Denise Walker and offered the original recording without being asked. I want a copy preserved before I send anything, she said. Monica nodded. That is your right. Denise looked at the badge box in Laura's hand, then at Monica's coat. Would they have stopped if you had shown them sooner? Monica considered the question. They would have stopped treating me that way. Denise's expression tightened. That is not the same thing. No, Monica said. It is not. The answer carried across the pavement. Ethan heard it. So did Sloan. A Professional Standards investigator approached Monica with a digital form. Chief Hayes, we need your statement. Monica looked toward Ethan and Sloane. Take Officer Morris first. The investigator seemed surprised. Chief. His account was given before anyone knew my title. Preserve that sequence. Caleb looked at her with gratitude and fear mixed together. Monica understood both. Truth often felt brave only after the moment had passed. During the moment, it felt lonely. As Caleb followed the investigator toward the unmarked car, Ethan stepped closer to Monica. I know how this looks. She turned toward him. It looks like what happened. I made a judgment call. Based on what? Ethan glanced at the SUV. The vehicle, the location, the way you answered. You mean the fact that I asked questions? You were challenging the stop. A lawful stop survives questions. He looked toward the witnesses, then lowered his voice. I have worked dangerous calls in this area. You start seeing patterns. Monica's eyes stayed on him. Patterns can help officers notice danger. Bias makes officers decide who is dangerous before evidence appears. Ethan said nothing. She continued. You saw a black woman in an expensive vehicle and looked for a reason she did not belong there. When the paperwork proved she did, you looked for another reason. Ethan's face changed, not with anger this time, but with the painful recognition of a thought he had never named. Sloane approached before he could answer. Chief, this conversation should wait for counsel. Monica looked at him. You have spent years teaching officers to wait until counsel when the truth becomes uncomfortable. Sloane's jaw tightened. I protected this department. From accountability. From public pressure. Public trust is not pressure, Lieutenant. It is the condition that allows a department to function. Laura returned with the velvet box and held it out. Monica opened it, looked at the gold badge, then closed it again. She did not pin it on. Not yet. The ceremony is delayed, Laura said. The city council is waiting for direction. Monica glanced at Denise, her child in the minivan, the delivery driver, and the customers who had watched the stop unfold. Tell them the first meeting will happen here. Laura paused. At the gas station? Yes. Sloane stared at her. That is not a secure environment. Monica looked around at the cameras, the open sidewalk, and the people who had stayed because they feared the truth might disappear if they left. It is where the department introduced itself to me. She turned to Laura. Set up a public listening session this afternoon. No podium. No closed doors. Ethan looked at her in disbelief. You are going to use this against us? Monica met his eyes. No. I am going to use it to make sure the next person does not need a chief's badge to be believed. The words left him silent. Across the lot, Caleb sat inside the unmarked car beginning his statement. For the first time that morning, his shoulders were no longer turned toward Ethan for approval. Monica saw the shift and understood that reform rarely began with a policy. Sometimes it began when one frightened person decided not to repeat a lie. She took the badge box from Laura and placed it inside her coat again. The metal rested against her side, but it no longer felt like a secret. It felt like a responsibility. Then she looked toward the station doors and said, let us begin where the harm happened. By early afternoon, folding chairs had replaced parked cars along one side of the gas station lot. City staff set up a portable sound system beneath the canopy, but Monica refused the raised platform they brought from headquarters. She chose a plain chair at the same level as everyone else. Residents gathered slowly at first, then in larger numbers as word spread. Some came carrying printed complaints. Others brought nothing but memories they had never expected the department to hear. Denise sat in the front row with her son beside her. Caleb stood near the edge of the crowd after completing his statement, still in uniform but no longer beside Ethan. Laura moved between city officials and investigators, making sure the evidence remained secured. Ethan and Sloane were not invited to speak. They were instructed to observe from a distance while the review continued. Monica placed the closed badge box on a small table in front of her. She did not open it. This morning, I was treated differently before anyone knew my position, she began. That matters because most people do not carry a title that can change the room. The crowd remained quiet. A middle-aged black man raised his hand and described being stopped twice in 1 month while driving home from work. Each time, officers claimed his car resembled one connected to a complaint. Each time, no report number was provided. A college student spoke next. She said an officer had ordered her out of a parked car while she waited for her younger brother outside a school. The complaint she filed had been closed within a week. An older white woman stood and said she had watched similar encounters from her front porch but had never recorded them because she assumed the officers must have had a reason. Her voice broke when she admitted that assumption had protected her comfort, not the truth. Monica listened without interrupting. She took notes by hand, writing names, dates, and locations. Every few minutes, she looked toward Caleb. He was hearing the pattern from outside the language of reports and incident codes. At last, Denise stood. "What happens after today?" she asked. "People have listened before." Monica nodded. Listening without action becomes another way to delay. She opened a folder Laura had prepared. Effective immediately, all traffic stops require a documented legal basis before a search, extended detention, or removal from a vehicle. Body cameras must be activated before contact whenever circumstances allow. Missing footage will trigger an automatic review. Supervisors may not close complaints involving themselves or officers under their direct command. And an independent civilian panel will receive unedited evidence at the same time as professional standards. A murmur moved through the chairs. Sloan watched from beside the patrol car, his face unreadable. Ethan looked down. Monica continued. "These are temporary orders until the city council completes a public review. They are not the end of reform. They are the beginning of evidence." A reporter near the rear raised a question about whether Ethan and Sloan would be fired. Monica answered without hesitation. "Discipline will follow facts, not public pressure and not private loyalty." She looked toward Caleb. "The same standard protects the officer who tells the truth." Caleb straightened slightly. Later, when the meeting ended, people did not rush away. They remained in small groups, speaking to investigators and city staff. Denise approached Monica with her phone in one hand. "My son asked why they listened after they saw your badge." Monica looked toward the minivan where the boy waited. "What did you tell him?" "I told him that was the problem." Monica nodded. "You told him the truth." Caleb came forward holding a copy of his signed statement. "Lieutenant Sloan told me this morning that loyalty meant protecting the department." Monica looked at the paper. "Loyalty means protecting what the department is supposed to stand for. What happens to me now?" "You keep telling the truth when no one is watching." Caleb glanced toward Ethan. "Even if it costs me my partner." Monica's voice softened. "A partnership that requires a lie has already cost too much." Across the lot, Ethan heard the words. He did not look away this time. He walked toward them slowly and stopped at a respectful distance. "Chief Hayes, I want to give a full statement." Monica studied his face. The certainty was gone, but remorse had not yet become change. "Then begin with what you believed when you saw me in that vehicle," she said. Ethan looked at the badge box, then at Denise, Caleb, and the people still gathered beneath the canopy. "I believed you did not belong in it," he admitted. Monica opened her notebook. "Now we are finally talking about the right investigation." Ethan sat across from Monica at a folding table near the gas station wall while a professional standards investigator activated a recorder between them. The afternoon light had shifted warmer, stretching long shadows across the pavement where the morning stop had begun. Caleb stood nearby with Laura, holding his signed statement against his chest. Sloan remained beside the patrol vehicle, separated from the conversation and guarded by his own silence. Monica opened her notebook. "Start with what you believed," she said. Ethan looked toward the black SUV. "I saw an expensive vehicle parked near the station. Then I saw you. And what did that mean to you?" He hesitated. That something did not fit. Monica did not rescue him from the answer. "What did not fit?" Ethan looked down at his hands. "You did not look like the person I expected to own it." The investigator remained still. Caleb lowered his eyes. Denise, standing several yards away with her son, heard every word. Ethan continued. "I told myself it was instinct. I told myself I was being careful. But when the registration came back valid, I did not stop. I started looking for another reason. Monica's voice stayed calm. Why? Because admitting I was wrong in front of my partner and the people watching felt like losing control. So you used more authority to protect your pride. Ethan nodded once. Yes. The word seemed to take something out of him. Monica wrote it down. What happened when Officer Morris told you there was no dispatch call? I ignored him. When he said my documents were clean, I ignored him again. When you realized your camera was off, Ethan's face tightened. I said it malfunctioned. Did it? No, Caleb looked up. Sloane turned his head toward the table. Ethan forced himself to continue. I forgot to activate it. Then I lied because I knew the first minutes would show there was no legal reason for the stop. Monica closed her notebook for a moment. That is not a mistake in technique. That is a decision about truth. Ethan nodded. I know. You know now. He met her eyes. Yes, Chief. Monica leaned back. Do not use my title to make this easier. You did not know it this morning, and that is when your character was tested. Ethan looked toward Denise. I owe her an apology too. Denise stepped closer but kept her son behind her. You owe every person you treated that way an honest record. Ethan lowered his head. You are right. Monica reopened the notebook. Then your statement will include every similar stop you remember, every time you continued after evidence cleared someone, and every report Lieutenant Sloane changed or encouraged you to rewrite. Sloane stepped away from the patrol car. That is enough. Laura moved between him and the table. Lieutenant, remain where you are. Sloane ignored her. Chief Hayes, you are turning one incident into a public confession. Monica stood. No. He is describing a pattern you helped hide. Sloane's face hardened. I protected officers from complaints designed to destroy careers. Caleb finally spoke. You closed mine before I even filed it. Sloane looked at him. The younger officer continued, voice unsteady but clear. 6 months ago, I reported that Ethan stopped a black teenager without cause. You told me to remove that paragraph because it would create unnecessary conflict. Ethan turned toward Caleb, shocked. You never told me. I was afraid. Caleb looked at Monica. That is why I almost stayed quiet today. Sloane's authority seemed to shrink beneath the weight of witnesses, recordings, and the words of his own officers. Monica faced him. Your duty was not to protect careers from truth. It was to protect the public from misconduct and officers from becoming comfortable with it. Sloane said nothing. Laura handed him a written notice of administrative leave pending investigation. He accepted it without looking at her. Ethan watched the paper change hands and understood that the badge did not make accountability disappear. It made accountability necessary. Monica turned back to him. You asked whether this would be used against you. Ethan nodded. Your truth will be used to determine what happened. What you do next will determine whether remorse becomes responsibility. He looked toward Caleb. I will complete the statement. All of it. All of it. Monica nodded once. She did not offer forgiveness, and he did not ask for it. Across the lot, Denise's son watched as an officer admitted he had been wrong and another officer refused to hide it. Monica noticed the boy's expression change from fear to attention. That mattered more than the ceremony still waiting downtown. She picked up the velvet box, opened it, and looked at the chief's badge inside. Then she closed it again. Tomorrow morning, she told Laura, we begin reviewing every complaint Sloane closed. Laura nodded. Caleb straightened. Ethan looked at the recorder and began speaking again, this time without defending himself. The truth came slowly, unevenly, but it came. And for the first time that day, no one tried to pull it back. 3 months later, Monica returned to the same gas station beneath a clear autumn sky. The pumps had been repainted, the cracked pavement repaired, and a row of folding chairs stood beneath the canopy where she had once been ordered to place her hands on the SUV. This time, residents and officers sat together without a barrier between them. Monica wore her formal uniform, but the chief's badge was not pinned to her chest. It rested on the table in front of her, beside copies of the department's new traffic stop policy and the first public report from the independent review panel. The investigation had reopened 47 complaints previously closed by Lieutenant Sloan. 14 contained missing footage, altered language, or stops without a documented legal basis. Sloan had been removed from supervisory duty and later resigned before the disciplinary hearing. Ethan received a lengthy suspension, lost his field training position, and was required to complete an external accountability program before returning to patrol. His statement had helped investigators identify a pattern, but Monica made certain cooperation did not erase responsibility. Caleb had been transferred to the Professional Standards Unit, where his first assignment was reviewing body camera activation reports from the previous year. He had not been rewarded for loyalty to Monica. He had been trusted because he chose loyalty to the truth. Denise sat in the front row with her son, who now held a small notebook and wrote down every question he wanted to ask. Laura stood near the edge of the gathering, no longer managing a ceremony, but helping residents find the right person to receive their complaints. Monica opened the meeting without a podium. 3 months ago, this department asked who I was before it asked what had happened, she said. Today, we begin with what happened. She explained the new rules in plain language. Every extended traffic detention now required a recorded legal basis. Body camera failures triggered automatic review. Supervisors could longer close complaints involving officers under their command. Civilian reviewers received unedited evidence, not departmental summaries. Officers who intervened against misconduct were protected from retaliation. The policies were not presented as proof that the department had changed. Monica called them tools that would reveal whether it had. Ethan stood near the back in a plain training uniform. When the meeting opened for public comment, he stepped forward. The crowd became quiet. I used to believe admitting uncertainty made an officer weak, he said. That belief made me dangerous to people who had done nothing wrong. He looked toward Denise, then Monica. I cannot undo what I did. I can only refuse to hide it and change what I do next. Monica did not applaud. Neither did the crowd. Accountability was not theater, and remorse was not redemption until time tested it. Caleb spoke after him. He admitted that fear had kept him silent before that morning and said courage had felt less like confidence than nausea, shaking hands, and the knowledge that his career might change. Denise's son raised his hand. Chief Hayes, why is your badge on the table? Monica looked at the gold medal catching the afternoon light. Because today it should not stand between me and anyone here. She lifted it, not to pin it on, but to place it closer to the center of the circle. A badge gives authority. It does not give wisdom, honesty, or respect. Those have to be earned every day. Denise smiled faintly. Her son wrote the answer down. As the meeting ended, no one rushed to leave. Officers stayed to answer questions. Residents signed up for the review panel. Ethan helped arrange chairs without being asked. Caleb listened to an elderly man describe a stop that had happened 2 years earlier and wrote every detail. Monica remained seated until the last person had spoken. The morning she arrived in Fairmont, the badge had changed how the officers treated her. 3 months later, she was trying to build a department where no one needed one to be heard. Power had not redeemed the moment. Truth had begun to. Courage had carried it forward. And justice would depend on what people chose when the cameras were off. Monica picked up the badge as the sun lowered behind the station and looked at the circle of empty chairs. Then she asked the question every person in Fairmont would have to answer for themselves: if no title, uniform, or camera could force you to do the right thing, would you still choose to do it?